Welcome back to Yvonne Winifred Yuji, my beautiful fashionistas. So starting off, I have my two pieces, front and back, and I'm marking the starting point on top here like this. So this is the back on top, and down is the front. So the front has the button allowance of 2 inches. This is a shirt. And now let me just show you what I'm working with. So along the width, my fabric is already folded into 2, but it is folded according to a quarter of the hip measurement plus 2 inches is allowance and 1 inch as the sewing allowance. So this is how it looks like. The length is up to the hip measurement of about 25 inches, and I added 1 inch as the joining allowance with this first part to the ruffles, as you will be seeing later. So now I just want my top of my front to be on top like this. So I'm aligning from the top and the sides very well, both the front and the back. And guys, just for ease, let me just mark the 2 inches button allowance away just for ease. So starting from that button allowance where it stops, I'm marking half of the shoulder measurement plus the joining allowance of the sleeve onto this shirt, and I go down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant, and from that 1 inch I also go down by 8 inches to mark the chest line. That is the armhole depth. So whatever I have at the shoulder, it has to be parallel to where the armhole depth ends along this chest line. So right away I just connect with a straight line, and the neckline width, I want to work with 3 inches, and the back neckline depth I'm working with 1 inch, and the front depth I'm working with 2.75. This is for a medium person. If someone is really small, you can even use 2.5. So that neckline, as usual, is is curved like that. So I have to connect from the neckline width to the 1 inch shoulder slant that I marked like that. And right away, guys, I add the half an inch at the shoulder for the joining allowance. So guys, coming back here at the armhole depth, I'm marking its midpoint, which is at 4 inches, and then from that midpoint I'm going in by half an inch to carve out the front armhole curve, simply as you see, like that. And from this midpoint I'm going to just mark the back armhole curve also like that. So now guys, I just divide the bust measurement by 4. Whatever I get, I'm just going to add 2 inches is allowance and 1 inch. I actually just added 1 inch for sewing and connected it into the hip line straight like that. I didn't add too much allowance at the bust. So now I'm connecting these points, and that is it for the first part of this dress. So the waistline will be taken in by an elastic, as you'll be seeing later. That's why we didn't do anything at the waistline. So first of all, I cut out the back armhole first, and also the back neckline first, and then the shoulder. Then I separate the two, that is the back, and I cut out the front neckline and the front armhole also like that. So make sure you notch where your button allowance also ends. So folding another piece of fabric into 4 because I want to cut both sleeves right away, but you can fold into 2 if you want one sleeve. So I have half an inch at the top and 1 inch as the hemming allowance for the sleeves. So the width is the 8 inches we used plus ease allowance and the sewing allowance. So first off, I'm marking the cap's height of 3.5 inches. Half inch is the joining allowance at the top for the sleeve. So along this cap's height that I've marked, I'm marking the 8 inches that we are using as the half of the armhole depth, and also the sleeve opening of 6.5 inches plus ease allowance and the joint sewing allowance, guys. So from the apex here, I'm connecting a diagonal line onto the half of the armhole measurement that we are working with, not the allowance but just only the armhole. Then I get its midpoint and I move up by half an inch at that midpoint. Then I carve out the back armhole curve like this. So first up curved, then here you can make it slightly straight line. Then from the apex to the midpoint, I just carve out the front armhole curve, and then from the midpoint also with a curve to the armhole depth like that, and then I connect the allowances and then I simply cut it out, and that is the sleeve or both sleeves. So first I cut out the back curve and then separate my 2 sleeves. This is how they look like. So right sides facing each other for the sleeve, guys. I'm going to cut out the front part of the sleeve. Remember, the sleeve is shared between the front and the back. So one of the sides is for the front for both sleeves and the other side is for the back. So label them for ease. And then notch out the midpoint of the sleeves. So guys, I just want to start sewing. So I'm bringing my back right side facing each other with the front, and I'm going to start by joining the shoulder by half an inch on top there on both sides like that, and then I'll cut the front into 2 parts. So after there, I'll just join the sleeve onto the shirt like that. And guys, before joining the sleeve, it's always best to hem the sleeve by double folding by half an inch, and then you just sew by a straight stitch. So I'll do that for both sleeves, and this is what I got. So simply as I told you, joined the shoulders, join the sleeve, hem the sleeve, join the sides, and before finishing the joining of the sides, I left some part unjoined because I want to add the ruffles separately. That is the back ruffles separately, the front separately for both sides of the front for ease, guys, you know, when it comes to gathers. So now for my gathers, I just multiplied the back piece, only the back piece, by 2. You can even just multiply it by 1.5. Don't do 3 because it will be too much. I think you're seeing from the picture it's not all that much gathered. So I'll just run a straight stitch, the loosest stitch at the sewing machine, then gather it up and then attach it to either sides of the front. That is after multiplying whatever measurement I have at the front by 2 or even by 1.5 inches. So this is the back now. I run a straight stitch, the loosest stitch, to gather up my piece that is multiplied by 2 and then attach it to the back. And guys, if you want, so you can just cut the rest of the parts of this dress into maybe 2 or 3, just as a gypsy skirt. But me, just as that fabric is formed, just as you see, I just used only one part to finish up the rest of the dress. You see how the fabric is. That's why I used only one piece for the gathers or for the ruffles, but if you want more, just do as we do the gypsy skirt. So now next I'm just going to double fold by 1 inch this button allowance and then run a straight stitch up to the hemline just by double folding by 1 inch. You remember we left 2 inches, so you double fold your 1 inch up to the hemline, and then I will create the button allowance for both sides, even this other side also. So after that, I'll just, guys, double fold by half an inch and finish up the entire hemline, and this is what I got. So you can either add buttons or you can even leave them out, guys. Why? Because this can also be used as a coat, and it really came out so beautifully as a coat. So after that, I'm just going to measure whatever measurement I have at the neckline and create the collar. So just fold into 2 and then put your measuring tape just as you see me doing. Measure whatever measurement you have here. I have about 8 1/4, 8 1/2 thereabout. So double or cross check your measurement. So now, guys, I have this stiff paper that I'm going to use as the interface for the collar, and I'm also going to use it to create the pattern for the collar. So remember, I've just folded it into 2 and I'm measuring 8 1/4. I just added half an inch and I have 8.75 here, and I mark that measurement down. Remember, this stiff paper is on fold. From there I go up by 1 1/4 inches. Then from where the 1 1/4 inches ends, I go in by just 1 inch. I'm now forming a collar or shaping the collar. So from that 1 1/2 inch, I go up by 2 inches. You can either mark the 2 inches diagonally or just straight up. So guys, let me just mark this 1 1/4 inches straight. It is kind of a rectangle. So remember, we moved in by 1 inch and went up by 2 inches. Hope you're getting it. So from the 2 inches, I go out by half an inch, then connect to the 1 inch. You can even shape out this 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/2 inches. So from the 1 1/4 inches again, I go up by 1 1/2 inches. So at the side, I went up by 2 inches, and at the middle where the fold is, I went up by 1 1/2 inches after the 1 1/4 inches. Then I connect those 2 points like that, and now I can just cut it out. So it is a single collar. But if you want to cut 2-piece collar, you just separate those 2. First by the other first one that I marked, and also this other one on top. So this is what I have. I'm going to use it to cut the collar onto the fabric. So here we are, guys. I'm placing my stiff paper that I'm going to be using even as an interface for the collar on top here, after leaving half inch down for the sewing or the joining allowance. So I'm just going to pin it down, but it is best to just press it down with a flat iron. I didn't do that because power had chucked where I was, but it is best if you just iron it or press it down. So I just fold in my collar piece just as you've seen, like this. Remember, this is at the wrong side. The collar is at the wrong side where we stitch from. So I cut out my folded piece of fabric together with this collar, and I'm just going to sew along where this stiff paper ends, just along there, and go down like that. So let me do that and come back. So after I just flipped onto the right side, but this is how it looks like. So after the sewing, make sure you iron it down and then flip it onto the right side. And guys, for these corners, make sure you push out the fabric very well and very neatly. I'll just press this later when power is back. Power, that is electricity, guys. So I'm folding in the joining allowance like this for the collar to the shirt. So it is 1/2 inch on either side, folding it inside like this. I'm just going to bring my shirt piece and then just sandwich my shirt into the collar by 1/2 inch. Just put it by 1/2 inch inside there, and I'm just going to top stitch along the neckline all around like that, guys. Simple like that, and that is how the collar will be. So finished and well finished. This is what I have. So I just went ahead and top stitched onto the collar along the sides like that and folding it up. That is how it is. So beautiful. So we move on. So now, guys, I think you're seeing some marked line. So from the shoulder, I just measured and marked where the waistline is. So remember, the waistline is at 16 inches, and simply from the hip line just mark 9 inches going up. From the hip line, from where the gathers are, go up by 9 inches and mark where the waistline is. Just mark with a chalk so that we create a casing for the elastic. So my elastic is 1 inch and I need about 1¼ so that the elastic can go or pass through the casing very smoothly. So my casing is about 2 inches. It is not on fold, guys, and I'll be folding either sides by 1/4 inch, and at the start here also folding or double folding by 1/4 inch just to neaten up this casing. So for this casing, I'm just going to fold in 1/4 inch and then place it right where the button allowance starts from or stops from, and then I'll just run a straight stitch up to the other side of the dress. I'll just be folding in by 1/4 inch on either sides of this elastic casing that I've created up to this side, and I'll be top stitching on top and even also onto the other side after folding in 1/4 inch. And after creating that elastic casing, this is what I have. Remember, it is open at the start and even also at the other end. So grabbing my elastic, I have about 24 inches long elastic of 1 inch. There is a safety pin on top there, so I'm pushing in using that safety pin this elastic into this casing that I've created along the waistline. So I want my elastic to sit between the 16th inch line or on the 15th inch line at the body or at this dress or this garment that I'm making, and I'm passing the elastic, pushing it, and it is gliding through this elastic casing smoothly up to this other side like that. So I'm going to just tuck it down very hard so that it won't be moving out or unraveling from the dress. And then I'm making sure my elastic sits very neatly and very well. So cut it off and also tuck it down on the other side, and after everything, this is what I got. That is the elastic that is gathered up, or that has, you know, cinched in the waist line or the waist. So that is what I have, guys, and simply I think now the dress is finished. What I have to do is just to go and add buttons. They will be separated by 3 inches or 4 inches, but if you don't want, you can even leave out the buttons. Somebody just tried this piece on without the buttons and it looks so great. You can use it as a coat. You just put a little black dress inside and you rock it, or some green pants, and the dress just looked so beautiful. So that is it today, guys. Thank you so much for supporting Yvonne Winifred UG, and I'll be seeing you soon.